Germany and Italy just did something that should make every American nervous. They're loading up $245 billion worth of gold and flying it home. Not quietly, not politely, they're using military planes. And here's the kicker, these are supposed to be our friends, NATO allies. But after watching the chaos in Washington lately, they've decided it's safer to stash their gold under the Alps than under Donald Trump's spray-tanned thumb. Because let's face it, the US has gone from global leader to sketchy neighbor faster than Trump can say, I don't recall. This isn't about interest rates or inflation anymore. This is about trust. And they don't trust Trump, not his tweets, not his trade wars, not his weird obsession with tariffs, walls, or very big brains. After doubling tariffs on steel and aluminum, Trump managed to do something impressive. He made Germany and Italy agree on something, and that something is, get the gold out before he gets any funny ideas. Because now, European leaders are whispering the phrase that should terrify every central bank. Trump might get creative with foreign gold. Creative in this case, meaning seize it, freeze it, or hold it for ransom like some spray-tanned golem. And it's not just one politician sounding the alarm. The Taxpayers Association of Europe is urging full withdrawal. One German MP actually said, bring it back, before Trump wakes up and thinks it's his. Meanwhile, in Italy, Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni is in the ultimate political yoga pose, twisting herself into knots trying to keep her promise to bring the gold home without upsetting her trade deal with the US. She's got 43% of Italy's gold, about 700 tons, still sitting in New York. That's a $40 billion tightrope. If she yanks the gold, she risks blowing up the US trade surplus. If she doesn't, she breaks her promise and looks like Trump's sidekick. And spoiler, no one wants to be Trump's sidekick. Ask Mike Pence how that worked out. But here's where it hits home. If Germany and Italy pull their gold and start dumping US Treasuries, the damage lands right on Main Street, not Wall Street. Mortgage rates could rocket past 6.9%, a number that's already freezing the housing market like a turkey before Thanksgiving. Retirement savings, get ready for a punch in the 401k. All because the president decided the best way to negotiate with allies was to light their trade agreements on fire and then insult their central banks, while also possibly not knowing what a central bank is.
Magda, make America Great Depression again. You know what, it'll be great. It'll be better than great. It'll be a fantastic, unbelievable depression, the likes of which you've never seen before.
Before we continue, click subscribe below. We don't sugarcoat, we don't protect politicians, we expose what others won't. So here's the uncomfortable truth. This isn't just about gold. It's about America turning into that unreliable friend, the one who borrows your stuff and then accidentally sells it on eBay. Germany and Italy are reading the room, and the message they're sending is loud and clear. We don't trust Trump, and we're not waiting around to see how crazy he gets. So now the real question. If our allies are sending in military planes to pick up their gold, who's next? Japan, France, Canada? And what happens if they all try to cash out before Trump finds out where the vault keys are? Remember when Germany used to play it cool? Well, not anymore. They've gone from let's talk this out to grab the gold and run. Even the conservative CDU party, the folks who used to say calm down, everything's fine, are now chanting the same tune Trump's enemies love. We don't trust this man with our money, and honestly, can you blame them? Germany has 3,352 tons of gold. 1,120 tons of it is still sitting in the New York Fed, 2 miles below Manhattan. Once upon a time, that gold sat there because America was the safest place on earth to store value. Today, they're asking themselves a very different question. Why are we leaving our national wealth under a guy who once said trade wars are easy to win, and then lost one to Canada? Even CDU lawmaker Marcus Ferber is panicking. He said, I demand regular checks of Germany's gold reserves. Official representatives of the Bundesbank must personally count the bars and document their results. He flat out warned that Trump might start playing games with foreign gold. Translation, Trump is being seen as a financial threat to NATO, a risk, a wild card, a man who might one day look at Germany's vault and say, nice bars. Shame if something happened to them. Let's pause on that. Germany now thinks the US might have lost, loaned, or leveraged away their gold, because when Trump's in charge, even the most basic question, is our gold still in the vault? Suddenly becomes a mystery. And guess what? The panic's spreading. The European Central Bank just dropped a bombshell. Gold now makes up 20% of global reserves. It's officially past the euro. It's gaining on the dollars, which is slipping to just 58%. That's like watching your long-trusted family doctor get beat out by a TikTok herbalist. The confidence is collapsing. And here's where the dominoes line up. Belgium is urging its central bank to pull its gold before someone else does. The Netherlands already did it and secretly flew 122.5 tons out of New York in one convoy like a spy movie. Now, everyone's pointing fingers at Trump's trade war and saying the quiet part out loud. Get out while we still can. If just 5 more countries, like Belgium, Austria, Netherlands, Poland, and Switzerland, follow Germany's lead and move 1,000 tons of gold, gold would jump to 25% of global reserves by 2028, and the US would lose $150 billion a year in demand for ITS debt. Let that number marinate. $150 billion per year, because one man thought tariffs and temper tantrums made great policy, and we're already feeling it. Bond yields are climbing, mortgage rates are tipping towards 7%, the dollar's reputation going the way of Trump stakes, flashy, overpriced, and mysteriously missing. So what now? If the world's safest vault, the one under New York, is no longer safe, if gold is now more trusted than the US dollar, what happens when trust in America turns into a punchline? And here's your cliffhanger. Germany just threw the first punch. The gold is moving, the trust is gone, but all eyes are turning to Rome, because if Italy follows, this whole system could go kaboom. So while Germany is out there banging on the vault door, Italy's playing it like a spy movie. No yelling, no press conference, just pure quiet panic. And their Prime Minister, Giorgia Meloni, she once promised to bring every ounce home the moment she took power. That was 2019. Now she's gone full mime. Not a peep. Why the silence? Simple. Italy has a 40 billion euro trade surplus with the US, and Meloni knows that if she crosses Trump, she might as well kiss that surplus goodbye. So she's stuck. Break your promise, or trigger a gold exodus that sends Trump into another unhinged rant on Truth Social. Either way, you lose. And here's the fun part. Behind the scenes, Italy's pressure is building like a volcano. Just before Meloni flew to Washington this April, Italian economist Enrico Grazzini dropped a bombshell op-ed. Leaving 43% of Italy's gold reserves in the hands of an America led by the unreliable Trump is very dangerous for our national interests. And Grazzini isn't alone. Critics are piling on, accusing Meloni of stalling so she can squeeze out a better deal on steel and aluminum tariffs before she makes her move. But here's the dangerous part. Every day she waits, Italy loses leverage and Trump gains control. Because this isn't just about moving shiny bars around. This is about power. This is about control. And right now, the US is holding foreign gold like a pawn shop owner on a losing streak. And Trump's holding the keys. If Italy pulls the trigger, it signals to the world the US is no longer a trusted vault. It's a liability wrapped in an ego and dipped in orange spray tan. That one move could shake the global financial system like a snow globe on a jackhammer. It would rattle investor confidence in the dollar. Put the Fed under pressure. Even a partial withdrawal would be devastating. Markets wouldn't wobble, they'd lurch. Confidence in the Fed, gone. Faith in American neutrality, gone. And the worst part? We wouldn't even see it coming, because when Italy finally acts, it won't be with headlines or hashtags. It'll be with cargo planes quietly lifting off under radar. And while that's happening, Belgium's getting itchy. They've got 227 tons of gold, most of it overseas. Now they're urging their central bank to bring it home before someone else does. Translation: before Trump figures out he's sitting on everyone's collateral, and remember what the Dutch did in 2014? They flew 122.5 tons of gold out of New York in total secrecy. One single convoy, one quiet exit. US exposure slashed overnight. Austria followed a year later. Switzerland's eyeing the exits too. This is no longer a theory. It's a parade of exits. And the US is the country nobody wants to carpool with anymore. So let's recap what just happened. Germany shouted, Italy whispered, and both sent military planes to New York, not to invade, but to evacuate their gold, because even our closest allies are watching Trump's circus act unfold and saying, no thanks, we'll take real money, not reality TV. On June 26, 2025, it became official. Berlin and Rome plan to pull every last ounce from the New York Fed, and when that gold walks out the vault, it doesn't just shrink the Fed's books. It yanks out the very collateral that holds the global money system together, because that gold isn't just pretty, it's what central banks use to keep the engine running. Pull the gold, pull the collateral, pull the collateral. The repo market seizes, repo seizes. The credit pipes clog, and then Wall Street starts sweating, the Fed starts printing, and average folks, retirees, homeowners, first-time buyers start drowning in higher rates. Already the damage is here. $90 billion in securities vanished from the New York Fed's balance sheet since March. $17.1 billion in 1 week, repo spreads widening like Trump's excuses. The Fed's own Lori Logan just warned of unusual intraday volatility, which is banker speak for, this thing's about to blow. And the cherry on top, a new survey from OMFIF asked 75 global reserve managers one simple question. Are you still buying US dollars? 70% said no, not maybe, not soon, just no. That's more than double last year. These are the people who decide what gets stored in vaults and what gets flushed. And they're hitting the eject button on the dollar. Now, just like Germany and Italy hit eject on trust. And here's the final nail in the illusion. The World Gold Council says 76% of central banks plan to increase gold holdings over the next 5 years, while nearly 3/4 plan to cut exposure to the US dollar. That's not a trade strategy. That's a massive coordinated vote of no confidence. The numbers don't lie. Over 1,000 tons of gold bought per year, 3 years running. A potential 25% global gold reserve share by 2030. Every 1% that shifts away from US Treasuries equals $100 billion in lost demand. That means rates rise, debt explodes, and your grandkids inherit a $34 trillion dumpster fire, all because Trump thought bullying allies was good for business. Turns out, they'd rather hold gold than IOUs from a guy who thinks default is just a strategy. And if you think this won't hit home, let's get real. Mortgage rates could stick at 7% or higher for years. Cities will borrow like they're in the third world. The US will print more money, backed by less and less trust, because none of this takes a war, or a crash, or an enemy. All it takes is a gold bar flying out of a vault. And Trump? He's standing at the runway, pouring gasoline on the tarmac. So now we are here. Will the US finally get serious, cut the circus, restore credibility, and stop letting one man's ego set fire to the world economy? Or will Trump double down, tweet through the collapse, and dare the rest of the world to walk away? Because once the gold leaves New York, it's not just metal in motion, it's the end of the illusion. And the only question left is, how much more pain hits Main Street before Washington finally wakes the hell up? Drop your answer below, hit subscribe, and stay tuned, because the next plane might not just carry gold. It might carry the last bit of global faith in the dollar.